From homeless to hopeful to helpful. Hello and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. This is your home on the web for honest, no hype insights, advice, and inspiration to help you sell more, faster, at higher margin with less stress and more fun. When I got out of the Air Force in 1997, I had a wife, a baby, another one on the way, and I had to put food on the table, which meant I had to be productive. I had to be efficient. I had to be successful at making sales, and I was. Over the next decade, I continued to succeed in various industries across the country, even across the world, which led me in 2006 to starting the Sales Whisperer. Since then, I have built a big business and a big family, and I have fed my family, provided for them based on my own skills, my hard work, my dedication, my insight. And now I give you this podcast as a free tool to help you learn what I have learned over 20 plus years. Another free tool that you can use to grow your sales is available over at thebestsalessecrets.com. Head on over there, and it's over 21 pages of advice, things including the 7 keys you need to apply to win at sales, how to look at money, and the true purpose of the sale. So again, head on over to thebestsalessecrets.com for that free tool. And now on to the show. Cheyenne, Bostock, all the way from the East Coast. Do I have to say, forget about it during this whole interview, or what?
No.
Forget about it, huh?
Forget about it.
Well, welcome to Sales Podcast, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How you feeling?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on the show.
No doubt. Thanks for having me.
So for those that don't know about your Brooklyn brilliance, would you mind take a minute or two, kind of tell us about yourself, and we'll dive in the rabbit hole?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on the show. Everybody, my name is Cheyenne Bostock. I'm a life and relationship expert, motivational speaker, and author. And I love to help people build their personal brands, improve their relationship, and cultivate relationships. So I'm here to talk to Wes on the show about just that, because if you want to make sales, you have to make those personal relationships.
So how did you become a relationship? I mean, you're a dude, right? Come on, man. You're a relationship expert. How did that happen?
Well, I think we all have the capability of being an expert in a particular field. Like, I'm sure you would consider yourself a sales expert. Now, I don't have how did you come about that? I'll assume that you have plenty of experience in sales, and we all have experience in some designated area. And the way I got started was I had my own relationship issues. And I think that if you're going to be successful in any field, in any area of life, you have to be transparent. If you're a finance guru, people want to know about your finances. If you're a branding guru, people want to know about your branding. Sales, relationship, people want to know about your relationship, your sales. And so I did just that. Instead of crying about my relationship, I wrote books.
You just started. Okay, now wait a minute. You're still a dude, right? Are you telling me you had a little diary? Was it did it have a little Paisleys on it? Come on.
Well, I gave a little bit of insight of my experience as a dude in relationships and building those relationships. I talked about what worked, what didn't work, what I wouldn't do again, and how people can build successful relationships themselves.
Okay. Well, I always say, the teacher learns more than the student, right? I'm telling people all the time, it's like, I'm taking notes, I'm sitting here typing as we're going. I'm always learning. So, So walk us through that. So did you intentionally set out to write a book to work on your relationships, or did you just literally start kind of journaling and just kind of putting stuff on paper just to get your feelings out and kind of sort through things? And then how did that blossom into books and speaking?
That's an excellent question, because a lot of people ask me that about the books. And the answer is, I didn't know I wanted to be an author. I didn't know I wanted to write books. I didn't know I wanted to be a life and relationship expert. These things simply called me. When I was going through my relationship issues, I couldn't do anything but write. And the crazy thing was, when I was in college, I never liked to write. But when I was going through this experience in my relationship, the pen and the pad just met. I just kept writing. And I started a blog, and people loved it. Within 1 year, I had over 25,000 subscribers to that blog. And so people would ask me, Cheyenne, do you have a book? And I said, no, I don't. They were like, oh, too bad. We would buy it. So I said, you know what? Maybe I should write a book. And then I started to take myself more seriously. I started to give myself more credit for the things that I was great at.
Right.
I was actually pretty good at writing. I was pretty good at branding. I was pretty good at social media. So I started to give myself the credit that I deserved in order to be successful. And then I started to teach other people my methodology.
Okay. So you were writing as a blog, right? Or did you actually literally have a journal, putting pen to paper, and then made that transition?
You know what's funny? I used Facebook. That was my journal. I used Facebook, and people, I'm telling you, Wes, it was like they gravitated towards me like a magnet. They started to like, share, write, and relate. And that's when I saw that there was a need.
Right.
I saw that people needed a place to gather and talk about relationships. So I had to do something. I had to create a central hub for people to come and talk relationships. And that's where Ask Shy B was born.
And so were you just doing this on your personal profile, or did you have a page, or what?
This was my own personal profile. This was before I even learned about branding and what branding means.
Okay.
I didn't think I wanted to turn this into a business. I was just having so much fun connecting with people and relating to people. Kind of like the creator of Facebook. His idea was, I want to bring people together just to share information. And that's what I was doing in the beginning. But it turned into something so much more. It turned into a blog. It turned into a book. It turned into an event. It turned into TV appearances. It just keeps going. And I'm so passionate, and I enjoy what I'm doing so much that every day I wake up, I'm thinking of hitting my next level.
Yeah, that's awesome. But what I want to do is take what kind of happened or kind of snowballed on you and see if we can pull out some nuggets, right, that our listeners could do on purpose. Because I got to imagine, when you started, you had a job, right? You were just kind of venting, or getting things off your chest online. But so you had to make that switch to monetize it, right?
I'm glad that you brought that up, because when I first started this journey, I was unemployed.
Wow.
I was actually living in a homeless shelter.
Whoa.
And so I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And this is the big thing that I want everyone who's viewing right now to get. You have to figure out what your passion and your purpose is in life. And so when I was living in that homeless shelter and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, I'm applying to 100 jobs a day, aimlessly, just applying to anything so that I can bring in some money. But I was totally missing the purpose of life. Mm-hmm. But when I was in the homeless shelter, I didn't have any friends, family members, or significant others holding me back or distracting me. So I had the greatest opportunity in the world to get to know myself and take that spiritual journey with myself. That's when I discovered exactly what my purpose is in life, what I'm great at. And I had to ask myself, I said, Cheyenne, you're applying to all of these jobs and you're not getting the results that you want. Why don't you take a moment and really look at what you're great at? And so I said, what are you great at? And I answered, I said, well, I love making people laugh. I love talking to people. I love motivating them, inspiring them. And I do this regularly for fun, just because this is who I am. So then it hit me. I said, Cheyenne, why don't you do this for real as a career? But I didn't think it was possible. I was holding my own self back. I didn't think it were possible for me to take something that I love doing and actually make a living at it. Mm. So as soon as I got out of my own way, I was able to reach and achieve new heights and become successful.
So are you saying that since I love drinking beer and watching sports, okay, how can you're going to be the man. We're going to figure this out. You're not going anywhere until we figure this out. Forget about going anywhere. So that's awesome. So you're in a homeless shelter. So how long ago was this?
This was in 2011, January 2011.
Oh, my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So you're in a shelter. So what are you just borrowing? Do they have like a computer like a community machine? You're having to share time and log in? Did you have your own laptop even, or what?
I did have my own laptop at the time, but guess what? I was in bed one night. I was on my laptop on Facebook, and then my laptop dropped. And then the hard drive...
I'm sure you had Apple Care protection, right?
Nope. The hard drive crashed, and so I had to resort to using the public library. to
Wow.
do my writing, to do my social media.
Right.
But when you're handed lemons, you got to make lemonade.
Yep, that's awesome. I mean, I say that all the time. I mean, I've never been that down and out, but I mean, I tell people, I mean, there's so many free resources, right? Podcasts are free. Go to the library. You can read. There's very few books, subscriptions, anything that you can't get for free at the library, right? Most high dollar consulting, whatever, they give access to libraries. I mean, you just got to get your butt down there and do it, right?
Definitely. There's a wealth of resources right in your neighborhood. You simply have to seek it.
So how long would you stay at the library? Would people are like saying, dude, you need to like buy that chair or something because you're like making it your home?
You know what? It was one of my second homes. Another one of my homes was this place called Borders. They're closed now, but we had to be out of the homeless shelter at 7 a.m. And so I had to figure out where I wanted to go. So I would go straight to Borders, and just like I was never a writer, I was never much of a reader. But I had no other choice. And this is the big thing that I want everybody to get, that you have to get to a place where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's where I was. I had no other choice. So I had to force myself to read, force myself to write. So I would go to Borders, and I would read books that would help me enhance my resume, enhance my career abilities. So I would read books on psychology, self-help, branding, marketing, social media, any and everything. And I use all of those tools to help me build the brand that you see today.
Well, it's funny. I remember just listening to a guy that talked about when he didn't have money, he would go to the bookstore and he could get coffee for cheap, and he would just pull the books off the shelf. He would never buy them. He just said he'd read them because he couldn't afford to buy them, and he'd put them back on the shelf.
That sounds like me.
Get it done, right?
Definitely. That sounds like me. In Borders every single day, or Barnes & Nobles every single day, reading books, not getting up, not eating, not drinking until I finish those books. But wow. I'm grateful for those experiences because I've definitely learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my limits, and I learned a lot about the things that I was studying. Right. And it's helped me to help my clients and build and improve the Ask Shy B brand that I have.
Yeah, that's amazing. So this is just 4 years ago. So you're sharing. All right. So I don't know if we have time to get into your whole how you ended up in the shelter, but I mean, obviously you had friends and family or people that at least could that were connected to you and started to follow and started to share. Right, but I mean, I got to imagine you're just laying it on the line, right? Just being raw and putting it out there. And so there you are in Borders, in the public library. You're getting some knowledge. I mean, what happened next, right? I mean, did you start a blog first, or like how long after? Because I'm really torn on Facebook. All the eyeballs are there, so we got to put stuff up there. But at the end of the day, we're renting that space, right? We need to have a home on the web, which is our website and our blog.
Definitely.
So how long did it take you to make that transition? And then how do you divide up your work now, right? Do you put it on the website and then link it back to social media, or do you put all new social media posts? So I know it's a couple questions in there, but
I got it. That's a great question. And in the beginning, this is what I love so much about branding. In the beginning, I wasn't thinking about making a living, about having my own central hub, about a mailing list and things. But that's extremely important if you're going to be super successful in your field and stand out amongst your competition. So it started out on Facebook. And then it went to a blog, and then I created a website. And then what I do is I have all of my social media integrated in one and serving one another. So when I post one place, it goes everywhere. And the purpose of that is so that I can reach people who might be on LinkedIn but not on Facebook, or might be on Twitter but not on LinkedIn, etc. And I don't want to miss out on connecting with people so that I can help them improve their relationships, build their brand, or cultivate relationships with other businesses and people.
Yeah. So you started like a free blog, like a Cheyenne.wordpress.com?
Definitely. It started out with WordPress, and I know you can appreciate taking advantage of free resources. So sure. WordPress was one of those websites where I could do that.
You bet.
And I've been able to build my social media presence on Twitter to over 72,000 followers because it's a free resource and people love free. So I will put out content on there daily. The same thing with Facebook and LinkedIn and other websites, other social media sites. I give people a place, just like the news. You wake up in the morning, you turn on Fox, you turn on ABC because you can rely on them for news. And that's how I want them to view my timeline.
Gotcha. So, I mean, 72,000 is huge. And to do it relatively recently, I've interviewed some people with, 250,000, a big list, but they admit they were like early adopters and they kind of could game the system before Twitter and all kind of caught on. But, I mean, you're doing this kind of after the Twitter got smart. So do you have tips and tricks for that? And do you still recommend, like if somebody's kind of new to this whole social media thing, should Twitter be one of the first ones they jump on?
Twitter is my favorite. I definitely recommend Twitter as one of those social media profiles you get on because it's easy to connect with other people.
Right.
I could send Barack Obama a tweet, connect with him, and if he finds it interesting, he may follow back, he may respond, he may retweet, and that helps my business because he has millions of followers. So if millions of followers see my content, that's potential new business that I can bring in. And, some of the tips that I want to give is to just constantly put out great content. No matter how wonderful you are, no matter how great you look, no matter how brilliant your product is, people want to know that you're more than just a robot. They want more than automated messages. They want to see that you are real and that they can actually connect with you. So put out quality content on your timeline. Engage your audience. If they have questions about your business or your services, provide customer service right there on Twitter. And don't be afraid to follow people. That's what Twitter's all about, following and following back, sharing and engaging, building relationships. So don't be afraid to use those tips and grow your audience.
So what do you talk about in creating content? I mean, are you sharing your own stuff, or are you curating content from others? And hey, here's a good article from ABC. Here's a good article from Guy Kawasaki. How do you blend that ratio?
That's a great question. I might go to your timeline, Wes, and I might see a great blog or a great video, or I might even see this podcast on your timeline and I'll share it. I'll say, hey, everybody, check out this awesome podcast. Check out this awesome blog. And what that'll do for me is that'll help me to connect with you. You might, especially if you don't know who I am and we've never connected, if I share something valuable to you, you might say, I appreciate Cheyenne for sharing that. Let me go ahead and check out his bio. Let me check out his timeline. And maybe we can do some cross-marketing or some building together. So I'll follow him back. So it's always great to share other people's content, not just because it's the right thing to do or the just thing to do, but it helps you to build relationships. And they might just share your content as well. And that's what you want. You want other people to be evangelists. What's the point of getting on social media and just constantly promoting yourself? What's going to happen is your audience is going to get tired of you promoting yourself. So it's good to bring in some other people, sometimes not even related to the industry that you're in, to connect your audience to resources.
So kind of like maybe alpaca grooming and things like that, kind of sprinkle some of that in?
I'm sure I have some dog lovers in my audience and some animal lovers in my audience. So sharing stuff like that would be cool.
All right. So do you have like a strict ratio, or is it kind of a feel, like how much of your own stuff versus others?
It is a feel, and whenever I get, like the other day, I saw this this article on Forbes for women in networking. So I said, let me share this. I read it first, and then I shared it because I knew it would be valuable to the women in my network. And I'm sure they appreciate that, especially if they're used to me, say, for example, posting information to men or blogs to men. When they see something for women, now they're paying attention. Now they'll read. And it may not be from me directly, from my blog, but they'll see that I value the opinions of other people, and I'll continue to share it in my network.
So are you blogging? Do you have a set schedule? You're like, hey, 3 days a week, I'm going to write a 500-word article? Or is it kind of you get passionate about something, throw out a 2,000-word article, and maybe another week before you write anything?
Well, it's been a while since I've really blogged religiously. I used to blog every day. But now, as my schedule has become more demanding, and I'm not able to put out as many blogs as I would like to, I try to blog at least once a week.
Okay. And is it just kind of a feel sort of thing, or do you have kind of a trend or topics you want to cover each time?
When I write, I like to write from the heart. Like, for example, someone contacted me just last week, and they were asking me for social media tips. And I gave them a few social media tips, but they weren't satisfied. And they wanted me to actually take over their social media profile. And I said, I don't have the time.
Right.
But I will connect you to someone that does have the time. This is actually something that they do. So they continued to ask me questions about social media. And I was like, I got to go. And so I said, you know what? Let me write a blog. And I provided 8 social media tips. I did it right there on the spot. I didn't get off the computer, did it right there on the spot. And then I shared it with him so that he would have the information that he needed and he would feel that his time was being valued, and he's happy.
Cool. Isn't it kind of interesting how demanding people can be when they're wanting something for free?
Well, I kind of set myself up for this one. I did create a website called Ask Shy B.
Well, that's fine, but then okay, I asked a question, and you took the time to answer it, but not enough.
Right.
But oh well. But yeah, you're right. You did answer. You did create that website.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, in marketing automation, the software that I sell, is that I say, look at anything you do 2 or 3 times a day or 4 or 5 times a week and figure out how to automate it. So in your case, if you're getting asked the same question all the time, write a blog post about it, make a video about it, and then share it with the world, because others obviously want to know it, and you don't have time to answer everybody one-off anyway, and you sure don't have the time to answer the same damn question, to multiple people all the time. So that's right. Cool. You kind of get the inspiration and just hit it.
Yeah, and that's great insight that you just gave for those future bloggers out there and vloggers. Just simply use that thing that everyone keeps asking you about. A lot of people, they ask me, they say, well, what qualifies you to be a life and relationship expert? And then they turn around and tell me stories about how their best friend keeps contacting them for relationship advice. I'm like, you could be a relationship coach as well if you choose. Simply use that thing that people keep asking you about. What is it? Is it a hair tip? Is it a fitness tip? What is it? Are you great with fixing cars or remodeling homes? Use that. Create a blog. Create a video YouTube channel, and create a brand.
So how do you? All right, I got a lot of questions. So you started your Cheyenne.wordpress.com, or what was it? It's still up. What's that?
It was Ask Shy B.
AskShyB.wordpress.com.
Yes.
Right. And then did you copy everything over to your own website, or just start from scratch once you went to your own?
I did. Last year, I actually had a web designer recreate my website, and he transferred over all of the blogs for me. But just recently, this past month, I actually remodeled my website and rebranded everything. So I'm going to be putting out fresh blogs on business branding and relationships.
Cool. Okay, so you're on this free platform, the WordPress.com. How did you start to monetize it? How did you make your first dollar being on your own?
Well, it all started by doing it for free. And I would ask people for their testimonials, and I would ask them for their referrals. So it quickly grew my social media presence. And before I knew it, I was so backed up with emails. It was like I was overwhelmed. And that's when I decided to put a price on it. That's when I decided to create a website. And that's when I started to see that I really had something here. I had something that people would be willing to pay for. And that's how I capitalized on it.
Okay, so you're getting all these emails. And were you just doing like 15-minute calls or 30-minute calls with people, or what were you doing? Or just email advice?
Before I knew the true value of what I had, I was giving out so much of my time answering these emails, taking people's phone calls, all for free. And that's when I said, you know what? I need to place value on my time.
Yep.
I need to put a price on this because people clearly see value in it. And if I allow them to, they'll exhaust every resource,
every ounce of energy
until I say, you know what? It costs this amount to have a coaching session or one-on-one session, whatever. And so now I place that value on it, and I feel much better about it because I get to delegate where I want to place my time and how much of it I want to spend.
Okay, so walk me through that, because that's a nerve-wracking experience. A, starting to charge, and B, raising your prices. I have this conversation with clients all the time, like, raise your prices, and they're all nervous. So here you are, you're Mr. Nice Guy, right? Emails are flooding in, people love you on Facebook. Wait, what? You're going to charge me? So how did that happen? Let's say you got 50 emails coming in, you're talking, and then that 51st comes in, you're like, I'm charging that guy, right? I mean, how did you decide how much to charge? And I'm sure you've raised your prices since then, right?
Well, here's what I did. For all of those loyal customers who valued what I was doing and wanted my advice, I still left an area open for them to get absolutely free advice. And I do that. It's called Free Advice Wednesday. It's a hashtag that I use. Every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., you can get free advice. On every other day, you got to pay me, baby.
And so that's on the phone or whatever, or just through social media, like ask quick questions?
I answer questions on Twitter, and you can call in to get free advice.
Good grief. Is it like a short 5-minute, 10-minute, or what do you?
Normally about 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
And that number is 646-389-7145. Give me a call this coming Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, and that's on your website too, right? 646-389-7145.
Yep.
Okay, got it up there. All right, I had this in the show notes too. So that's amazing. So, all right, but everybody else that did want to pay, how'd that conversation go? Because they're referred to you, So my friend says, you got to talk to this guy, Cheyenne. He's the bomb. Man, he's been helping me for a month, and it's been free. Can you believe it? Free. And I say, Cheyenne, I'm Wes. I need help. And you go, hey, man, it's $50. It's $100. I mean, how'd you make that transition?
Well, the conversation was very brief. They would contact me. They had a question. I would say, thank you for reaching out. I would love to schedule a time to talk to you. Here are the hourly rates. And then they would dismiss themselves.
So you just drew a line in the sand and said, all right, I'm willing to lose people that aren't willing to pay.
Well, the most valuable thing, you know what? I didn't just simply dismiss them like that, because I did give them options.
Okay.
I would say, please refer to my blog, because there may be a blog that can help you. And if they had a specific question that was not on the blog, I would create a blog for it and refer them to it.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, you just finally drew a line in the sand and said, I'm going to start charging. Here's my rate. I got to start telling people now that this is no longer free.
I had to, because the most valuable thing we have in this world is time.
Yep.
And if I'm using my time to address another person's issue, then I'm taking away time from my paying clients.
Yep. And so how did you know where to set your price in the beginning? Because there's a ton of people that are, they bake cakes and people love it. They do websites. They help with social media. They do graphic design, for free. Help a guy. Maybe it's on the side. And they're like, oh, wow, I could do this as a business. But they're like, I've never charged for my services. How did you pick that price?
Well, I always tell people that if you're good at something, always do it for free until enough people respect and acknowledge that you're good at it. And what I did was, and this is something that the viewers can definitely try for themselves, they can take a look at their competition, see what they're charging. And also, most importantly, evaluate what you feel you're worth to other people, your clients. And do a tester. Put it out there, and if you see that nobody's willing to pay, your prices may be too high, or you're targeting the wrong audience.
Yeah. So, but you just got to start, right? You just got to believe that you're worth charging for. But, I love that too. Give it for free. That's right. A lot of us had to start that way, and yeah.
And the great thing about doing it for free is you get something so valuable that you might not be able to get when you charge people. And that's a testimonial. Because when people pay, they're like, you know what? No, I paid you. I don't owe you a written testimonial. I don't owe you a video testimonial. But guess what? Would you rather $150 for the hour or would you from Barack Obama, or would you rather a video testimonial from Barack Obama?
Right.
I think the video testimonial will be far more valuable. So if you're beginning in your business, getting those written and video testimonials is huge, especially if you can target someone significant in your community, maybe a local celebrity, a clergy member, or a public figure. Oh man, that'll do wonders for your business.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you're distributing your content everywhere. Are you using a tool like a Hootsuite or something to post once and push it?
Yes, I started out using TweetDeck, but I've recently switched to Hootsuite.
Okay.
It allows me to send out messages to multiple different social media profiles. I can do it from my laptop, I can do it from my phone, and I can connect with all of my social media engagers.
Now, what's your take on, because I've heard pros and cons, right? On the one hand, it's good. You can do it once and reach a lot of people. Others say, hey, take the time to make a separate post, because you can tweak it, right? You can tweak the image size and whatever for a Facebook page versus a LinkedIn post versus, Twitter and Instagram have different sizes. So, do you find that the efficiency of using one tool to distribute outweighs the benefit of maybe tweaking it for each platform?
Yeah, there does have to be some tweaking for certain platforms. And what I do is I look at each individual platform to make sure, for example, the picture showed up the way I wanted to show up, the video showed up and not just a link or a blank file.
Right.
And that makes all of the difference, because a person might not click, they might not share, they might not comment if they don't see that this is a video or this is a photo. Sometimes you get the little bit link for a photo, and you don't want that. You don't want to be lazy with Hootsuite. You want to make sure that you're following through and making sure that your content is high quality and exactly the way you want it to show up on all of your social media profiles. And one of the things that I want to mention is that with Instagram, I'm not allowed to use Hootsuite for Instagram, so I have to post that individually. Right. So what I'll do is sometimes I will post on Instagram and share on Facebook and Twitter from there.
So does Hootsuite let you tweak each one so it appears right? I haven't played with it in a while.
Well, if I see there's an error coming from Hootsuite, sometimes I may have to go in individually on each social media profile.
Right.
But it's okay, because the number one thing that you have to be concerned with is quality content. I tell people that all the time. I look at their timelines and I'm like, you didn't make sure that link worked. You didn't make sure that video showed up correctly. You didn't make sure that the photo showed up when you posted that blog. And that's extremely important, because that'll help increase or decrease the amount of clicks and the amount of purchases at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, it matters. I mean, it's amazing. Little, they say small levers or small hinges swing big doors, right?
Right.
So, all right. So you got all this content. You're transparent. You're putting yourself out there. How did you make that transition to writing a book?
Well, by the time I decided I wanted to write a book, the book was already written. Because like I was saying, I used to blog every single day. Right. So the content was already there. I already had the audience. They already believed in the vision. They already wanted more. So I didn't have to do anything else but bind it.
Nice. Did you self-publish?
Yes, I used a company called CreateSpace.
Sure, on Amazon.
Yeah.
Very nice. And you have one now, or do you have a couple?
I have two books. The first book is called Food, Sex, and Peace of Mind, What a Woman Needs to Know to Keep a Man. And the second book is Break Every Chain, Lessons Every Father Should Teach His Son About Life, Love, and Relationships. And both books are available. You can get signed copies on my website, www.askjb.com, or you can go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
Very cool. So I see here on your website, you got a donate button. So tell me about that, and do people use it?
Yeah, people use it. And, when I first started, I forgot to mention this. Thank you for reminding me. I felt kind of bad about charging rates. So I would say, you know what, I'll give you advice if you make a donation. And it worked. people, this was before I had a book, this is before I had products, this is before I knew I wanted to charge to be a speaker, before I even had the confidence to be a speaker. So I had that donate button because, listen, I had to make some money.
Right.
So I said, you know what, donate, and people did just that. You'll be surprised how people will follow your leadership if you put it out there, if you believe in it, if you're confident in it. They'll follow you to the end of the earth.
That's awesome. And you keep it up there, hey? Amen.
Hey.
I mean, because sometimes you're right. You do want to help somebody. And there's something about paying for what you get, right? Even if it's $1, you know, they're going to value it infinitely more than if you give it for free. So, I mean, sometimes you're helping them by charging them, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's an investment. They need to look at it as an investment, not spending. If you look at your life and the things you do for your own personal life as spending, you'll never truly get the value.
Yeah. So now you made the transition to speaking. Can you walk us through that? Because a lot of people want to speak. They want to get on stage. How do you know what your story is or your title or your topic, you know, and then and bring that together in a paid talk?
Well, I actually have a workshop coming up. It's a 3-day workshop, and we talk about everything that you're asking right now about public speaking. The first day, we talk about finding your passion and your purpose, and that's the biggest significance in your public speaking career. And the second day, we're going to be talking about creating your marketing message. And finally, day number 3, we talk about pricing and pitching. And so back to how I figured out I wanted to be a motivational speaker.
Okay, hold on real quick. I want to make sure we get you on this. So I'm on your site now. Is this on your brand or life coaching, or is it up on your website yet?
Yep, it's on the events page, and it's called A Brand New You.
Events page, A Brand New You. All right, I'll make sure we link to this.
Yep.
Got it.
And going back to how I decided I wanted to be a motivational speaker and charged to be a motivational speaker is because I just love doing it. Every day when I meet somebody, I'm telling them this same story over and over and over again. Sometimes I get asked to speak at schools and churches and different organizations, and I tell the same story over and over and over again, and it's so much fun. I'm like, wait a minute. This reminds me of a time where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I had to look inside myself and see what I was good at. And I'm like, wait a minute, I love speaking. So why not go around the country, go around the world speaking? I love doing it, so let's do it.
Right. So were they just finding you through your blog and your Facebook? And like, hey, can you come talk to our students and come talk to our company?
Well, no, I had to brand myself.
Okay.
And this is extremely important. And what branding is how people remember you. And when people think of me, when they say my name, when they see my face, they think life coach or author or expert or motivational speaker, different things of that nature. That's because I've strategically and effectively branded myself online and offline. Every time I go out and network, I'm telling people who I am, what I do, and giving them a business card that sends that same exact message. I send them to my social media where they'll find exactly what matches everything that I said offline and the promotional material that I gave them offline. So everywhere I go, everything that I do is related to my calling, and I use that to take my brand to the next level.
Right. And so how did you know how to charge on speaking? Was another kind of like on your other advice, kind of look at the competition and see what's up, or just kind of charge a little and then just keep raising?
Well, I have a few mentors who do similar work, and they advise me on some of the areas that they charge different prices in. And I've also attended conferences and workshops, and just listening to them speak and telling stories about what they charge and how they accomplished what they did just gives me the confidence to raise my price to whatever I feel that they can afford. And I want to encourage all of the speakers out there to nurture whatever your story is. I was talking to a life coach just the other day, and I could tell that she wasn't confident to charge a certain amount. And I said, wait until you figure out your story.
Yeah.
I said, let's take, for example, you are a clothing designer, right? And I asked you, what's your story? And you say, well, when I was a kid, I had hand-me-downs. So I never had the best wardrobe attire. So what I decided to do was take those hand-me-downs and cut them into something that fit me. And so from there, I would design all of the students at school and high school and college. And then I thought, let me create a website, let me create a brand, and let me make money. Now I'm a top designer in the fashion capital of the world. That's a story that people would buy.
Right.
I just made it up, but that's a story that people might be interested in. And because you can't just be a clothing designer, there has to be some story attached to it so that you can pull on the emotional heartstrings of individuals all across the world. People will buy into your story long before they buy into a product,
right?
A physical product.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so now you're doing live events. I mean, you're hitting all the bases. How did you have the confidence to move into that? I mean, is it just once you're in the mix, opportunities present themselves? Because, I mean, that's cool.
I had to have a conversation with myself and ask myself, where do I want to go? And what's stopping me from getting there? And I became angry with myself when I saw that it was me in my own way.
Yep.
Why haven't you launched your first event? Why haven't you written that book? Why haven't you pitched the media? Why aren't you on TV yet? All of these things are just me. Oh, I didn't make the phone call. I didn't send the email. I didn't set up the meeting. I didn't go network. All of this stuff is me. So when I decided to get out of my own way and I saw things happening like magic, I was like, wow, I can do anything. So I developed that confidence in myself, and from then I just didn't see any doors. I just saw passageways that were waiting for me to walk through.
That's awesome. But Cheyenne, what if I throw a party and nobody comes?
The people who never come will never know. You post on social media, hey, thank you everybody for coming out. Even those who couldn't make it, I had a blast.
All right, I got to write. The people who never come never know.
They wish they knew.
All right, that's awesome. All right, man. Well, this has been fantastic. So what's some parting words of wisdom you want our listeners to walk away with?
I want people to know the purpose of life. Life is about building relationships and leaving behind legacies. There's going to be a time where we're out of time. So don't wait for tomorrow to achieve your goals. Start today. Start right now. Right now is promise. So use it to the best of your ability.
Cool. Mr. Cheyenne Bostock, where can people reach you, man? Where can they find you on the web?
They can find me all over social media and via my website, www.askcheyb.com. That's ASKCHEY, the letter B. Send me your relationship questions, your business and branding questions. I'll be more than happy to set up a consultation with you guys. And tweet Free Advice Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, so we can chop it up about your questions.
All right. That's awesome. Cheyenne Bostock, thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast, man.
Thanks so much, Wes.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you, too.
I hate to say, what's your excuse? But, hey, what's your excuse, right? This guy was living in a homeless shelter, broke his computer. I mean, he had nothing and made it down to the library, made it down to the bookstore, applied himself, continued to search. People always talk about, praying for good times, whatever. But it's like, don't pray for the absence of hard times. Pray for the courage and the intestinal fortitude and the drive and the determination to get through the hard times and to learn your lesson and to understand what you were supposed to learn from that, and then apply the lessons learned to make your life better by helping others make their lives better. And that's exactly what Cheyenne has done. I mean, what an inspiration. I ran across him online, and he was very interesting just from what I saw very briefly. So as I learned through the interview, there was so much more to him than just what you see on the surface, from his books and his appearance on social media. What a powerful story. It's definitely worth listening to again. Rewind this. And, if you're listening to this on an iPhone, you have the ability to listen at 1.5 or even double speed. And every podcast that I listen to, that I subscribe to, I listen at least 1.5, and most things at double speed, and even on Audible at triple speed. And you'd be surprised at how much more information you actually get out of things going that fast, because you have to focus, you have to concentrate. Because in the human voice, we just speak more slowly than what our minds can process. And so when your mind starts drifting and daydreaming, that's when you miss something. Whereas when you listen to it faster, you actually are more attentive and you absorb and consume more. So try that out. And that's why I always say, go back and listen a couple of times. Pull out those nuggets. And you can find all of the notes and links, everything that we talk about at thesaleswhisperer.com/session 139. And this interview, Cheyenne, is definitely worth going and checking out the links, looking at his events, for Ask Shy B. So go ahead and visit thesaleswhisperer.com/session 139. and get inspired. That'll do it for today's show, but the learning and the doing now follows. If you would like my help to implement what needs to get done, help you identify what needs to get done and the best path and the best vehicles to use to accelerate down that path, please head on over to thesaleswhisperer.com/IPA. There you will see an overview of what I call my initial process assessment. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap. But like they say, I'd rather spend more than I wanted to than less than I should to grow my business. So if you need some help, if you'd like me one-on-one to help, again, please head on over to thesaleswhisperer.com/IPA. And as always, remember to sell different.